Bon. Bon has arrived. This is when Taizai becomes greatness. When his introduction is done, greatness is upon us. Prepare for the Taizai greatness. Bon is best boy. Fucking best boy. I'm just saying right now, Bon is best boy. Fucking best boy. He's my favorite character. I want to be honest. I am a Bon fanboy. And to see his introduction animated... Okay, before I continue with this review, I'm just going to clarify this real quick. I know a bunch of Chibits are going to be asking, where did you watch this Chibi? Where is it at? I had to watch this episode raw. No translation. Because clearly at this time of me making this review, there is no fan subs. There is no official source for Taizai. We should all know this by now after the first episode, second episode, so forth. There is no official translations for this series. So, I was waiting all day. Taizai's not coming out. I'm getting kind of impatient. I want to see my Bon greatness. And so, I watched the Raw. Since technically I am a manga reader, I know what is going on. So, first things first, let's clear this off the bat and get it off the table. Is the pacing good? Is the adaptation following the manga? Yes, it is. I went back and looked through this volume, Volume 2, as you see here, Volume 2 of the Seven Deadly Sins. I went back through it, read it just to make sure, and yes, they are adapting it fine. It's completely fine. I didn't mention it last week, I was a little bit under the weather last week, so I didn't really have time to actually talk about everything, about the pacing-wise, but everything is fine, pacing is fine, adaptation is doing good. So, looking past that, let's talk about this episode of the Seven Deadly Sins. There is a lot of different things going on in this episode. I'm going to fanboy on Bon in just a little bit, okay? I'm going to have the later part of this video fanboy, man. Oh my god, Bon. But anyways, I want to talk about the Weird Fang. The Weird Fang is introduced in this episode. As we see, we see a bunch of these cool-looking armored dudes introduced in this episode. We see them sitting around inside the fortress, and you see them how they're all being introduced. You see all their names pop up, and when you see one that looks like a bug that's, you know, attacking the town where currently our Seven Deadly Sins are with Elizabeth, and you see how bugs are assaulting everything, and you see where Diane just uses these fucking stone pillars, and they go fucking up and splat those bugs. Oh my god, that's badass. That's fucking badass. Now, I want to do some clarification about this. If you were forced to watch this Raw, and you want to watch this review, I want to do some clarification and break it down. That flashback with Diane, okay? That flashback, what it was, which is pretty understandable if you actually watch the, you know, the anime. It's pretty straightforward, actually. It's really understandable if you watch this episode. But anyways, Diane's flashback focused on when she was being treated as a monster. Pretty much regular civilians, regular people, as we saw soldiers from the kingdom were looking at Diane as a monster. She was a monster, she was a beast, she was savage, stuff like that pretty much. And, you know, they were about to gang up and attack her, and Diane was about to attack them to defend herself. Well, Meliodas comes in, as we see, with his badass fucking suit. Oh my god, that looks badass. He comes in, and what he says is pretty much, what is all these guys doing ganging up on that girl? What is wrong with you? Pretty much, Meliodas was looking at Diane as a girl, like a regular human girl. Not as a giant, but as a girl. And that was completely different from what Diane has ever experienced in her entire life. Every time she's been encountered with anything, everybody usually fears her, runs away from her, or they don't think of her as an average girl. They look at her as a giant. Meliodas actually looked at her as a regular girl in that moment, and that entire bit's where the kindles of love, as we could see, forming in this episode and the last episode, beginning. Pretty much, as we can see, this is where Diane started falling in love with her cat. That's pretty much where it was. And this was a very adorable episode. It actually gave us a lot of development between Elizabeth and Diane as characters. In this episode, you have it to where Diane completely states that she wishes she was small, because she can't really be with the cat like a normal girl because of how big she is, and she's actually very jealous of Elizabeth, as she states in this episode. And it's really sad if you think about it, because this is like the start of bonding between Elizabeth and Diane in this episode. Like, you see how their bond is, and how pretty much you have it where Diane's charging towards the bug while Weird Fang squadron. She charging towards him, stay with the captain and help him out. Pretty much that's what Diane says. So I love that overall moment. It just shows you how much Diane is starting to trust Elizabeth with the person she loves, and it just shows you the bonding between the characters. Now, I want to just say, the ending conclusion, okay, that dude, I wonder exactly what type of power this person has. I mean, as we could see, this dude that was introduced as the weird Fang, he has some form of teleporting ability, as we can see. He instantly just teleported inside of the place to where Elizabeth was with Meliodas when he was hurt. And that is a big question, like, what type of ability was this person using? Because he was clearly talking to Elizabeth and Hawk before this person appeared. So what ability does this person have? That's the big question we have to wonder right now. And past that, as we see, the main critical condition of Meliodas is pretty dire in this episode, because the wound he got from Gilfunder last week is actually affecting him, because Meliodas passes out and has to get medical attention in this week's episode, which at the same time, it just shows you how much Meliodas was actually hurt from Gilfunder's attack to learn about King and Bon. He did all that to get that information, and now he's technically, his face was in the dirt in the middle of this episode. Now, let's get into the bit with Bon. I want to talk about that. Oh my god. Bon, downright, man, I am a fanboy. I'm a massive fanboy to Bon. I want to be honest. I love fucking Bon. He is epic sauce. He is, okay? When you have a dude just coming out with these fucking nails straight through his body, like he had, like, fucking nails, like something like you see in a crucifixion and stuff. You just see nails and stuff all through his body, and he's just walking out of this fucking door, like he kicks this freaking iron door down and walks out of it like a fucking boss, like he doesn't give a shit. And you just see him yank these freaking metal rods out of his arm, and you just see the holes and the freaking holes, and then they heal up. Now, I'm not gonna spoil, but what exactly do you think that was? Clearly, Bon has some form of regenerative ability. He can heal really fast from what we can see, but what is his extent to his abilities? That's something we got to wonder from this episode. But the one thing that makes Bon such a badass is when you see Jericho. Try to think that Jericho, an apprentice holy knight, was top shit against Bon. Oh my god, dude. When you see that shit, man, when you see Jericho, like, you calling me a brat? Oh my god, I know exactly what dialogue they were saying in this episode. I didn't even need to read the manga. I'm like, oh my god, man, Jericho, just fucking shut up, man. You're talking a Bon. You're talking a fucking Bon. And then you have this apprentice fucking holy knight just saying like, oh, you call me a brat, you're gonna regret that, I'm gonna kill you and stuff. And then you have it where Bon's getting sliced up and all, and he's like, oh, and then all of a sudden he's joking around and you just see the fucking beard and hair fall off. Oh my god. He dodged all the attacks to get a damn haircut. Dude, he dodged all the fucking attacks to get a fucking haircut, man. Who does that shit, dude? Come on. Only a badass like Bon, only him would literally do that. Just get a fucking haircut, man. Oh my god, man. It's badass. Now, with that entire bit, there's a little bit of a cliffhanger in this episode. Pretty much, you see it to where Bon points at the scar on his neck. Now, he says this is the only person that's ever left a scar on him, or a wound on him. Now, it didn't reveal any names, so I'm not going to say nothing, don't worry about that. But who do you all think was strong enough to leave a scar on this man's body that can regenerate like he can, as we saw in this episode? Let me know in the comments below. Overall, wonderful episode. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful episode. Cannot wait for next week, and hopefully it gets translations faster. Please get fucking translations faster, please. I love this series too much, and it sucks. It sucks when I'm waiting for translations. It's so bad. I'll just watch it tomorrow. I'll watch it tomorrow when the translations are officially out. But anyways, you all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.